Today we are here at Little Lithuania, USA, Pennsylvania Historic Marker. This was sent in by Colleen Unvarnished. This is the oldest one that she sent in, and I was originally thinking about going up into the area and doing some filming to correspond with this, but I found quite a bit of information on this thanks to MarkerQuest that we talked about in the content creator recommendations with Laura Klotz. She has a great article on it that I'm going to be using as my source material. So thank you, Laura. Thank you, Colleen. And let's read the sign. So, a center for Lithuanian settlement since the late 1800s, Schuylkill County's population has the greatest concentration of Lithuanian ancestry in the U.S. The coal industry drew many of these immigrants. The local Knights of Lithuania, among the nation's oldest chapters, celebrates and preserves its ethnic heritage. Reverend Andreas Stepakanas, who led one of the first Lithuanian American Catholic congregations, 1872, is buried in St. George's Cemetery. Sorry if I butchered his name, but we'll go more into talking about a lot of the cool things about this area, because a lot of times people think of like Lithuanian heritage. A lot of times they think of, say, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Scranton. Once again, steel and coal industry areas that a lot of Lithuanians, Eastern Europeans moved into. But Shenandoah and the surrounding areas, towns like Tamaqua, Pottsville, Mahanoy City, those types of towns have a very, very high Lithuanian ancestry percentage in their populations. And it's actually Shenandoah here has, I believe, the highest percentage of Lithuanian cemeteries. Unfortunately, they Englished up the names and really butchered them in a lot of ways. So a lot of the headstones have the English version of the Lithuanian names, which, like I said, is a shame. But it's also, I believe, it's the oldest community outside of Lithuania as well. So there's a lot of really cool facts about this area. So once again, thank you, Colleen. I'm going to do this in sections off of the MarkerQuest article and talk about a lot of the cool things in this area. And thank you, Laura, from MarkerQuest. So here we have a map of Europe, and Lithuania, where the arrow is pointing, is just north of Poland in Eastern Europe. And at the time that we're talking about, when this area of Schuylkill County started to be immigrated to by the Lithuanians, was the 1860s. And that was right around when coal was discovered, and during that period of time, Lithuania, as we know it today, was occupied by the Russian Empire. Unfortunately for the Lithuanians, they weren't treated terribly well by the czars of Russia. They weren't even allowed to speak their own language. So the promise of work and freedom in the United States was obviously appealing. And they had a large exodus, which became known as the Gurinal, literally free air men. So they fled to the free air of Penn's Woods, or Pennsylvania. And many of their descendants have remained here to this day. We think about a lot of times the Lithuanian communities, like I said earlier, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and Scranton. But in Schuylkill County, which is known as Little Lithuania, Shenandoah, where this marker is, it was nicknamed Vilnius of America, and Vilnius that was the capital and the largest city in Lithuania. Schuylkill County actually has the highest concentration of Lithuanians in the United States, with 5% of the local population being of Lithuanian ethnicity. Shenandoah, Frackville, Mahanoy City, and Tamaqua. You also have St. Clair, Pottsville region. You'll see a lot of Lithuanian churches. It's one of the things I like about the area is the Eastern European churches. You'll see like Eastern Orthodox churches that have the really cool dome that are usually colored like a light blue or something of that nature. But a lot of their churches are usually very plain as well. But a lot of Lithuanian schools and things of that nature. So it's a really neat area, and it's an area where they were accepted and they were free, and it was just a completely different lifestyle, if you will, from their native Lithuania. So this area really has, I think there's certain areas too, it's as high as like 12%. You'll also see, like I talked about as well earlier, especially Shenandoah, the highest concentration of Lithuanian cemeteries. And we're going to see a bunch of pictures of those. There's one, I think it's Mahanoy City. It's actually abandoned, so we'll visit that at some point. But just a lot of really, really neat places, a lot of things to do with publishing, whether it's newspapers or novels of Lithuanian language, a lot of firsts, because they experienced freedom in this area, whereas they didn't have that back in their home country. So as we talked about, the nearby community from Shenandoah Heights, that's the home of the largest concentration of Lithuanian cemeteries in the entire United States. The oldest one of these is St. George Lithuanian Cemetery. This one stopped actually allowing new burials in 1934. And many of its headstones are anglicized. I can't. That's one of those words I have trouble with, but it's Englishing it up, and not correctly due to the immigrants having their names badly transcribed by the immigration officers. It was just sort of one of those things that happened. But these local areas, like Shenandoah, Mount Carmel, these were the hub of Lithuanian activities. They have a Lithuanian social club there that has the yellow, green, and scarlet of the Lithuanian flag. And even though the minority of the membership are actually Lithuanian ancestry, nevertheless, it keeps up those traditions. And it's a cool place for the local seniors to socialize. Mount Carmel also had the oldest Lithuanian school in the United States, which was established in 1923. And the exterior boasts the Lithuanian carving of the Mother, where I guess the Mother Maria Kalpas Center in Mount Carmel is named for the Lithuanian nun who worked there. They actually have the students of Bucknell College will use the center for temporary lodgings when performing different types of help to the community, and its namesake, the Mother Maria Coppice, is actually being considered for sainthood. Mahanoy City is home to the oldest Lithuanian church of that region, St. Joseph's, which was first erected in 1888. They also have a publishing house there, produced Sole, which I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right or not, the world's highest circulation Lithuanian newspaper. That building dates back to 1916 and still stands. It was run by the Bukakis family, and they ran a newspaper, or I guess they ran it until it published its final issue in 1959. Since the use of the Lithuanian language has declined in the vicinity. They also have a Lithuanian School in Mahanoy City. Unfortunately, it was demolished in 2010. There's a really cool Lithuanian bank that's in that area as well. A very unique architecture as well. So a lot of cool things in the area that are very much noteworthy. And it's one of these things we'll probably do a video and we'll actually go and film at a bunch of these locations at some point, because I love architecture, as you guys know. And a lot of their churches, these different buildings, you really don't realize the historical significance of all these things. Being that I'm not Lithuanian, you don't necessarily understand the significance and the prevalence of these places and what it means to people of Lithuanian descent. A lot of firsts, a lot of things that they got to experience for themselves that they hadn't been able to experience, unfortunately, in their home country. And you think about then, later on, after the Russian Tsars were gone, then of course you had communism, and the Lithuanians, once again, in that country were really bombarded and were treated very, very poorly. So this really was a haven for them, and to experience all these different things, to have these different places, whether it's places of worship, places of social activity, whatever it might be, these are really the bedrock of their communities, of their lives, and they have such significance. And it's sometimes it's looking from the outside perspective, you don't understand fully what it means in these communities and the culture that comes with this, and really the lifeblood of those communities and of those people. So it's really cool to see this and preserve it and learn a lot about it. When I looked at the historical marker to begin with, it was like I was thinking mainly of the churches and things like that, but as I read the article here from Laura with MarkerQuest, you really start to realize the significance of this and how very, very cool it actually is. So we'll have a little bit more here, share that with you, and this is turning out to be a pretty cool video. Another really neat thing in the area is in Frackville they have the Lithuanian Museum and Cultural Center. It's been operating since November of 1982. So it sort of is a great place to see the details about the life of the average Lithuanian immigrant who settled in the region. They have exhibits that include the traditional weavings and other handicrafts, rare books, and items which once belonged to those who left Lithuania to come and work in Pennsylvania. Frackville is also home to something else that is very, very cool. It's home to the Lithuanian Days festival. It's an annual celebration of Lithuanian heritage conducted by Council Number 144. That's the local chapter of the Knights of Lithuania. It's been held every year since 1914. Lithuanian Days is the longest running ethnic festival in the United States. This event includes traditional dances, foods, and songs, as well as vendors selling Lithuanian crafts and a worship service in the evening. They had a virtual version that was conducted in 2020 due to COVID, but it sounds like the in-person festivities are expected to continue. And it's held at the Grove venue and Lakewood Park campground on the second weekend in August. So we are unfortunately past that, but it's definitely one of those things. The Lithuanian Museum is well worth checking out, and that's something I think will go with the channel and see what it's all about. But once again, so much rich history. Just really thank you, Laura, for your article being so in depth, and thank you, Colleen, for the picture and sending this to me so we can do this video. Really, really awesome. So thanks everybody once again for coming along. Another adventure and learning a little bit more about hometown history. And as always, we'll see you all about town.